Alright, new day, new video. Today we're doing a Nomad from the Mercenaries faction of the tabletop game Warmachine. 09089 Cloudy Gray. So, that should be enough. Fiction-wise, the Nomad is an obsolete chassis developed by Signar 100 years prior to the current, well, over 150 years actually, prior to the current point the game is at. It was decommissioned in favor of the Ironclad and other more advanced chassis, with the remaining Nomads going to scrapyards or being sold to reputable mercenary companies. And it still serves mercenaries as a heavy, basic melee-oriented warjack, built with a very heavy blade and an open fist with buckler. Nothing too fancy, just a basic melee-oriented heavy. Okay, we're working on the functional parts of the superstructure here. I might pick out some of the armored plates on the feet later with the primary color. So because this mercenary warjack is a decommissioned Signar warjack, you do see similarities between it and the standard Signar heavy chassis like the Ironclad, though it looks less refined, more crude. There's more open space, especially on the legs. In fiction, the Nomad was developed from a Laborjack chassis, Laborjacks being the commercial version of warjacks, not really meant for combat, but for heavy lifting and other more mundane tasks. And it's also easy to find parts to repair it, not only at salvage yards, but since it is compatible with Laborjacks that haven't been updated in a good long while. Let's see here. That's pretty good on the gray. Oh, 09206 tarnished steel. Bulk of this is going to go on its blade. And this is a Warjack-sized version of a weapon called a Caspian Battle Blade. It's used by the normal human versions, is used by Signar's Sword Knights. It's a heavy cleaving blade, not meant for stabbing. It's just thick and massive. Ironclad that replaced the Nomad in Signar's army uses a heavy quake hammer capable of pounding through fortifications. Have this watered down a bit too much. Go ahead and make sure I get a nice even coat on the blade. And then I'll go ahead and pick out part of the buckler with this, I think. The back side. Making sure to get a nice even coat on it. And this outer rim here. And in Warmachine, the difference between a buckler and a shield is a shield adds an armor bonus and serves as a weapon in its own right, though usually a pretty weak one, while a buckler is a lighter shield that provides a smaller armor bonus that is attached to another weapon. I'll go ahead and get these buckles that are attaching it to the forearm here. Go ahead and do the grill in the silver too. Keep going for the gray. And the spikes on the shoulder. See here, that's pretty good. We'll go ahead and let that dry before moving on to other colors. Actually, go ahead and get the grip on the blade as well. Okay, now let that dry and move on to... Okay, moving on to olive green, 09035. this is going to go over the bulk of the armor. Well, not necessarily all of it. Get it over the maintenance hatch on the top. Go ahead and get part of the boiler. Carefully pick out this part of the forearm. So what specifically is under that maintenance hatch, and most warjacks have a visible one, is the cortex, which is the magical brain of a warjack. It allows their controlling warcaster to control it mentally. And while soldiers called jack marshals can command warjacks with verbal commands and hand signals, they're designed, warjacks, to accept direct mental commands from warcasters, as well as serve as a receptacle for the overflow of power warcasters have. Which makes them much more effective under the command of an actual warcaster. Though many jack marshals have powerful abilities called drives that give the warjack they command additional abilities. I'm not too worried about that nick of green I got on the gray. It'll come out very easily in the shading washes. Just going to do part of the leg armor in the green. Do a 2-color detail here. I'll go ahead and pick out this armor over the foot. Get the same plate on the other side. Then do the plate on the heel as well. Call that good on the green. Actually, not quite. Go ahead and do the crossguard of the sword. This is a last-second decision. Sometimes you might end up making a color choice at the last second, saying, gee, this would work better than what I initially thought. Go ahead and do the pommel as well. And all bronze 09107. Go ahead and pick out the rest of the boiler here. Oh, missed a bit of green. Take a second, touch that up quick. Doing that to blow air bubbles out of the, I'm not sure what the technical term is, those little holes in the smokestack. Sure, it's some kind of heat sink. Just making sure I got all those bubbles out. Getting the reinforcing fans on the boiler. And most warjacks are steam powered. Though Signar's Thunderhead is the first electrically powered warjack in their world. That is it. It is a unique first of its kind. Convergence vectors and retribution myrmidons, actually fueled by magic drawn from ley lines around the world. And while they continually take in energy in combat, they blow through it faster than they restore it. Meaning those warjacks do have to take breaks or they'll blow through their power reserves faster than they can replenish and end up having the same effect as a warjack that runs out of coal and water. Can use this on the underside of the forearms. And those grills right there. Okay. And 09005 Phoenix Red. Gonna give it a bright red secondary color. And that's to match the color scheme I gave one of the mercenary warcasters I've got, Drake McBain. While most of my Warmachine armies I give one cohesive color scheme to, mercenaries and minions are defined by their lack of cohesion, so I call each individual model as I see it. The faction is supposed to be in group of eclectics that will work for whoever hires them that hasn't made them angry enough to refuse their work. I don't see why there can't be some brightly colored individuals. There's certainly a bunch of colorful characters in the Mercenaries faction. In fact, defining mercenary in its purest sense is just a soldier who fights for money, not caring about morals or who they're fighting for per se. With that in mind, there are actually very few soldiers in the Mercenaries faction of Warmachine that could be considered true mercenaries in that regard, because so many of them have secondary agendas. Drake McBain's one that is probably a mercenary in the truest sense. Magnus the Traitor has a very elaborate agenda, trying to put his king of his choice on the Signaran throne, which recently he succeeded at, actually. Ashlyn de Elise trying to avenge her homeland, and the mercenary solo Gorman de Wolf rogue alchemist being a self-serving adrenaline junkie. Doesn't really care who he's fighting for, as long as he's in the thick of it. Nick the forearm there a bit. And this is another case to argue for white primer. They'll make up for it by doing multiple coats. You can see how blotchy this is. Let's go ahead and give all the red a once over. And when it dries, give it a twice over. I think I just made up a word. I gotta avoid doing that. There's a little bit of decoration on the forehead there. A little extra plate of armor. Get the plates over the knuckles. Getting the cowling over the head. I nicked a piece of the boiler I didn't want to get. Take a second, touch that up real quick. While a first-person point of view on these videos would probably be best, the camera I have is not suitable for that. I may eventually upgrade to one that can. I actually did try a test video where I jury-rigged it to my head, but that did not work out. I'll finish up by getting the shield with the rest of it. And that's the majority of the base coat, so just go ahead and, since some of this is drying, go ahead and do that second coat real quick, not necessarily over all of the red, but just the worst areas, that looking brighter and shinier. And it's pretty good. Alright, let that dry completely and move on to shading. Moving on to shading, 09004 Fire Red. It's another one that's about empty. Go ahead and start on the shoulder here. That seems to be a bit too thick. Just roll with it. Just making sure I don't miss anything on this. And I can go ahead and do the bronze too right now with HP Witter 09196. And this is a new bottle. And overall trying to work from highest area to lowest when shading, working low to high when base coating, and again lowest area to highest when highlighting. I nicked the red there. It's okay. And the paint's so watered down, we're just going to kind of lightly draw over the area with the brush. And just let the paint flow where it's going to flow. Blotting it out when necessary, but only when necessary. Those gauges you saw will get touched up when I hit the detail coat. Again, trying to get air bubbles out of those little divots. Okay. It's got the bronze. I'm going to go ahead and let that dry before moving on. Next shading, 09034 Muddy Olive. Making sure I got it all. Nope. Now that's got it. Let that dry, move on. Alright, 09088 Stormy Gray. Okay, let that dry, then get the silver. Okay, 09205 black and steel. Making sure those holes in the blade stay clear. practical feature of those would be to cut down on weight on an incredibly heavy blade without compromising structural integrity. Making sure to get this in the channel, the shield here. Get the grill. Alright. Go ahead and let that dry and then move on to highlights and detail. Okay, highlight and detail time. 09039 pure white. Just going to go carefully in the eye area. And then inside of these gauges. The inside of the smokestack here, and then carefully in the vents on the coal box here. And we'll go ahead and do the prep work on the arc. Since I'm using a bright color for the front arc, I'll need to put this down so I can make it look right. Right. I'll let that dry a bit. To dry? Huh. Whatever. 09006 fire orange. Just gonna use a tiny drop of this for now. A little more in a bit. Use this to fill in the eyes and the glowing effects. May not be dry just yet. Is that right? Get the coal box. And let's go ahead and get generous in there. Okay. Right. And we'll take 09008 Sun Yellow. It's not mixed very well. Try that again. Huh. This makes me want to go out and buy a little paint shaker, but huh. Go ahead and just roll with it. Color up the arc. We'll touch this up later with that same template on the self-healing cutting mat I've got. We'll let that all dry and then finish highlights. Okay. Excuse me. Things are dry enough I can move on. 09207 True Silver. Where's the brush I need? Get the spikes. And I had forgotten to shade them, but I took care of that off camera. I just didn't see the point of starting it up again just to fix one quick mistake. Get that nice and shiny. Gotta be careful about the base because it's still a little wet where I put the yellow on earlier. Shine up the grip on the battle blade. It's nice and shiny. Then Misty Gray 09090. It's another one that's almost empty. Your highlight's going to dry almost instantly. Not quite instantly, but close to it. Because if you got it thinned out enough. Okay, next the green, I think. Make sure the brush we want is dry enough. That's going to be pale olive 09036. Could have sworn I had another brush on here. It must have fallen down some. Oh, there it is. Been moving a lot of stuff around all over the place. Not just in the studio either, so a few things have gone missing for the time being. Sure, that'll turn up. Before we get too nuts on the top, let's just go ahead and get that little bit of green on the top of the head. Go ahead and do the green on the boiler. Okay, that's where I'm getting thrown off. A lot of these kids, the shoulders are symmetrical. This one, it's not. And yeah, a little bit of the steel shading did get on the sword's hilt or guard here. I could have fixed it, I just chose to leave it. Make it look like some wear and tear. Okay. I think the bronze next. 09198 tarnished brass. It's not all that much of this color. Start on those grills. Some pipes on the side. And then before I forget, forearms. And then the reds next. Make sure the brush is nice and dry. Now we'll pull out 09006 Fire Orange again. That should be enough. Let's go ahead and start with the top here. And ornamentation, hit the knee here. The other one. The knuckles. Maybe we'll need a little more of this. Shield. It's a bit wet, but gives a nice effect. Actually looks really nice on the left shoulder I just did. Okay. Just one more color. Gonna need a little room. Let's make sure this is in view of the camera. Alright. Gonna have to twist it. Alright, not ideal, but it'll have to do. So we're gonna take... Oh, I grabbed the wrong one. Pure Black 09037. Get a fair bit of that out. I'm knocking my paints around off camera. Where's the brush I need? Where's the brush I need? Ah, here it is. First, gonna take that and carefully paint the needles on the gauges. They're just tiny, tiny lines. And then I'm going to take that and put it in this slot on the top very carefully, just like that. Then get it centered here. Get it facing the way I want it facing. Carefully. Just a couple thin lines for the boundaries of the arc. Again, this is a self-healing cutting mat that Privateer Press puts out that has these conveniently marked off. That's the sole reason I bought it. We've got our boundaries marked. Just take a larger brush and close off the back. Okay, tidy up a bit off camera, but once that's dry, we'll number it and do the flock or other basing material. Okay, now 09039 pure white, just a tiny dot. That should be more than enough. Just going to go ahead and put a Roman numeral on the back. And get the glue solution mixed for the flock, Elmer's Glue All. Get the flock out. Get this mixed up really well. Might need a little longer to dry than I thought. We'll just go ahead and start carefully painting that around the feet, making sure to get the entire area. And this style of base has a little lip, which makes it very easy to get it the entirety without spilling over the edge. So I managed to miss a spot. Okay. Done the flock. A bit got into the white there. Let's brush that off. I'm using a dry brush. Well, that's not that dry. Try another one. Just dust that off the areas you don't want it. Alright. Then we'll let that dry. And seal the flock. Alright, last step. Woodland Scenic Cement eyedropper. It's always a little tricky as this starts to run low. Just carefully eyedropper that in and around the feet. Just tiny drops at a time. If you do too much, you'll end up creating a little divot. So letting it dry a bit helps. You want it to look wet. Make sure to clean out your eyedropper thoroughly when you're done. And that is it. A Warmachine Mercenaries faction Nomad heavy warjack. Got 2 more warjacks for Warmachine to do. We'll switch back to, I think, some Warhammer 40,000 for a little bit.